My name is Claire Harmon. I am 34 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I sat at a dinner table in my own home and completely missed something that my blind mother saw more clearly than anyone else in the room. It happened quietly, the way the most important things always do. We were in the middle of dinner, 7 of us around the table, food being passed, conversations overlapping the way they do at family gatherings. My mother, Eleanor, was seated to my left. She has been blind since she was 51 years old, the result of a degenerative condition that took her vision gradually over 2 years and then completely. She is 68 now and has spent 17 years navigating the world without sight in a way that has made her, if anything, more perceptive than she ever was before. Midway through the meal, without a word, she reached across and found my hand on the table. She squeezed it once, the way you squeeze someone's hand to say I'm here, or this food is good, or simply hello. A normal thing, a warm thing. I squeezed back and smiled at her and went back to my conversation. And then maybe 30 seconds later, she squeezed again. Twice. Deliberate. A full second between each one. I looked at her face. She was looking straight ahead, or what passes for straight ahead when you cannot see, with a calm, pleasant expression. Still eating. Still nodding at something someone across the table was saying, as if nothing had happened, as if she had not just pressed something into my palm that I was supposed to understand. I smiled at her again, uncertain, and let the moment pass. I should not have let the moment pass, because later that night, lying awake in the dark at 2 a.m, I suddenly remembered something I had not thought about in over 25 years. And when the memory landed, my whole body went cold. But before I tell you what actually happened, please like and subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. My mother raised my brother and me alone. Our father left when I was 4, and my brother, Patrick, was 6. I have almost no memory of him. Just a vague impression of someone tall who smelled like pine soap and was there one day and not there the next. My mother never spoke badly of him. She simply got up the morning after he left and made breakfast and drove Patrick to school and went to work and came home and made dinner and tucked us in, and she did that every day for the next 14 years until Patrick went to college, and then 4 years after that until I did too. She worked as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm in Raleigh, North Carolina. She was good at her job and her boss was fair, and she managed, through careful and relentless attention to every dollar, to keep us in a small house with a good school district and new shoes when we needed them, and one summer trip to the North Carolina coast every August that we both looked forward to all year. She was also, from the time I was old enough to understand it, completely clear-eyed about the world and the kinds of people in it. She used to say, there are people who give and people who take, and the takers are very good at looking like givers until they have taken enough. Growing up, she taught us a code. It was simple. 2 squeezes of the hand meant pay attention. Not look at this or listen to that. Just pay attention. It was for moments when she couldn't speak directly. A crowded room where someone was saying something that didn't add up. A family gathering where a relative asked a question that felt friendly but wasn't. A situation that looked fine on the surface but had something moving underneath it that she wanted us to notice. 2 squeezes. Pay attention. Trust what you feel, not just what you see. She used it a handful of times when we were children. Once at a neighborhood barbecue, when a man was asking Patrick questions about our house and our schedule with an interest that felt wrong. Once at a holiday dinner, when a cousin was telling a story that kept changing details in ways that only someone paying close attention would catch. Once at a parent-teacher conference when she felt, for reasons she explained to me later, that the teacher was not being entirely honest about what was happening in Patrick's classroom. She was right every time. I had not thought about the code in 25 years. The dinner 3 weeks ago was supposed to be a simple family gathering. Patrick had driven up from Wilmington with his wife, Andrea. My mother had taken the train from Raleigh, which she does without any assistance and with a confidence that still impresses me every time. And then there was my husband, Greg, and me, and Greg's business partner, a man named Derek Sutton, who Greg had invited at what he described as the last minute because Derek was in town and didn't have plans, and Greg felt bad leaving him alone on a Saturday night. I had met Derek twice before. He was in his early 40s, well-dressed, easy with a compliment, the kind of person who fills a room comfortably without seeming to try. Greg had been in business with him for about 14 months. They co-owned a small commercial real estate consulting firm that had been doing well enough that Greg talked about it with a quiet pride that I loved to see in him. Dinner was lively. Patrick is funny in that dry, unexpected way that catches you off guard, and Andrea laughs easily and genuinely, which makes everyone around her relax. My mother sat beside me and ate well and participated in the conversation with the attentiveness she brings to everything. Derek was charming and told good stories about properties he had worked with over the years, and asked my mother thoughtful questions about Raleigh that she answered with her characteristic directness. Everything seemed easy and warm and entirely normal, except for 2 squeezes of my hand that I did not understand until 2 in the morning. I was lying in the dark beside Greg, who was asleep, when the memory came back. It arrived the way old memories do, not gradually but all at once, fully formed. The way something submerged surfaces suddenly and completely. The code. The 2 squeezes. My mother at that dinner table, looking straight ahead, calm and pleasant, eating her food. And underneath the calm, something she had noticed and could not tell me out loud. Someone at that table is not safe. I lay still for a long time, going back through the evening in my mind. Patrick, my brother, impossible. Andrea, I had known her for 6 years, trusted her completely. Greg, my husband of 4 years, the person I knew better than anyone, which left Derek. I thought about the dinner differently. The way Derek had asked my mother questions about Raleigh. Her answers had been friendly but brief. I realized briefer than she usually was. She was not being rude. She was being careful. The way she got careful when something didn't sit right. I thought about the business. Greg had mentioned a week earlier, in passing, that some of the firm's accounts were being restructured, that Derek was handling the paperwork, that it was just an administrative thing, nothing to worry about. I had not thought to ask more. I sat up in the dark at 2:30 in the morning and went to the kitchen and opened my laptop. I want to be honest about what I knew and what I didn't know that night. I am not a financial investigator. I am a middle school science teacher. I know how to research, and I know how to read carefully, and I know how to follow a thread until it runs out or until it leads somewhere. It took me until 4 in the morning to find what I found. The restructuring Greg had mentioned, the administrative paperwork Derek was handling, included a series of account changes that, looked at from the outside, redirected a portion of the firm's operating funds through a holding company I had never heard of. The holding company's registered address, when I searched it, was a mail forwarding service in Nevada. The name on the registration was not Derek's. It was a woman's name I didn't recognize. I searched the name alongside Derek's name. The third result was a civil court filing from 4 years earlier in Florida. A former business partner suing Derek Sutton for breach of fiduciary duty and misappropriation of funds. The case had been settled out of court. The terms were sealed. I closed the laptop and sat in the kitchen for a long time. Then I went back to bed and lay next to my husband in the dark and thought about my mother, seated at our dinner table, looking straight ahead with her pleasant expression, reaching across and finding my hand with that quiet precision she has developed over 17 years of navigating without sight, seeing, in her way, what none of the rest of us had seen. The next morning I told Greg everything. I sat across from him at the kitchen table and I walked him through all of it, the code, my mother's signal, what I had found in the early morning hours. I placed the laptop in front of him and let him read. He was quiet for a long time. Then he called his attorney. The investigation that followed took several weeks, and I will not detail all of it here. What emerged was not as large in scale as it might have been. Derek had been in the early stages of what the attorney described as a slow and careful financial diversion, the kind designed to go unnoticed until it had grown significant enough to matter. Because Greg had caught it early, the damage was limited. The money that had been moved was recoverable. The business, with proper restructuring, was intact. Derek was removed from the partnership. There are ongoing legal proceedings that Greg's attorney has advised us not to discuss publicly. I called my mother the morning after I talked to Greg. I told her what had happened, what she had seen that I hadn't. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, in that matter-of-fact way she has, "He asked me questions about your house and your schedule, very interested in the specifics. And when Greg mentioned the business, Derek's voice changed. You can hear it when someone gets careful. People think they are only visible when they can be seen. I thought about that for a long time after we hung up. My mother has been blind for 17 years. In that time, she has developed what I can only describe as a way of understanding the world that does not depend on any single sense. She listens to how people's voices shift when the subject changes. She notices when a room goes a half-degree quieter. She pays attention to the things that careful, sighted people let their eyes distract them from. She saw Derek Sutton for exactly what he was before the appetizers were finished. And she reached across and told me in the only way available to her, a language she had taught me 30 years ago for exactly this kind of moment. I had forgotten the language. She had never stopped speaking it. I drove to Raleigh the following weekend and took her to dinner, just the two of us, at a restaurant she loves on the east side of the city. At some point during the meal, I reached across and found her hand and squeezed it twice. She stopped eating, tilted her head slightly. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I just wanted you to know I'm paying attention now." She smiled, and then she squeezed my hand back, once, warm and solid, and picked up her fork and went back to her dinner. Some people lose a sense and the world becomes smaller. My mother lost her sight and simply learned to see differently, more carefully, more completely. I am 34 years old, and she is still teaching me how to pay attention. I hope I never forget again.